It started with an explosion. A flash of light engulfed the sky, slowly fading until only darkness remained. By sunrise, the desert outside Roswell, New Mexico, was silent once again. Whatever had fallen from the sky was gone, but the questions it left behind would outlive everyone who witnessed it. For nearly 80 years, this mystery has refused to die. This is the Roswell Incident. America was changing. World War II had ended less than 2 years earlier, but a new conflict was already beginning. The Cold War was taking shape, the atomic age had arrived, and military secrecy had become a national priority. Few places reflected that secrecy more than southeastern New Mexico. Well, just outside Roswell sat Roswell Army Airfield, home to the 509th Bomb Group, the only military unit in the world entrusted with delivering atomic weapons. Nearby, scientists tested rockets and experimental technology in the desert. Strange aircraft were not uncommon in these skies, but the public knew almost nothing about what was happening overhead. Then, during the first week of July, a violent thunderstorm swept across the region. Lightning illuminated the desert for hours. Rain pounded the open ranch land. By morning, the storm had passed. On a remote ranch northwest of Roswell, Foreman Mac Brazel rode out to inspect his property. Instead of ordinary storm damage, he discovered debris scattered across a vast stretch of land. It wasn't a conventional airplane crash. There was no engine, no recognizable fuselage, no large crater. Instead, the ground was covered with thin metallic fragments, rubber-like material, lightweight wooden pieces, and foil-like debris, unlike anything Brazel recognized. Concerned by what he had found, Brazel gathered several samples and drove into Roswell. He showed the material to Sheriff George Wilcox. Unable to identify it himself, Wilcox contacted Roswell Army Airfield. The call reached Major Jesse Marcel, the base's intelligence officer. Marcel's job was to recover and identify unusual military equipment. If something unknown had landed near one of America's most sensitive military bases, he was the man assigned to investigate. Marcel accompanied Brazel back to the ranch. Together, they spent hours collecting debris from the desert floor. Exactly what they recovered remains one of the central questions of the Roswell mystery. Decades later, Marcel would say the material seemed unlike anything he had encountered during his military career. Others have argued those memories changed over time, but what happened next is beyond dispute. On July 8, 1947, Roswell Army Airfield issued an official press release. It announced that personnel from the 509th Bomb Group had recovered a flying disc. If you're enjoying this mystery so far, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, or the government might just leak your browser history. And let us know how we're doing in the comments below. Within hours, newspapers across the United States printed the remarkable story. For one brief moment, it appeared the United States Army had publicly acknowledged recovering a flying saucer. Then, everything changed. The excitement didn't last long. Only hours after announcing the recovery of a flying disc, the Army reversed its story. Around the same time, an FBI memo documented reports concerning the recovered disc. While the memo did not confirm the claims, it showed that multiple government agencies were documenting the incident as it unfolded. Reporters were invited to Fort Worth Army Airfield in Texas. There, Major Jesse Marcel stood beside the recovered material as military officials explained that the mysterious object was nothing more than a weather balloon. Photographs from the press conference showed Marcel posing with torn rubber, wooden sticks, and crumpled foil. The newspapers immediately changed their headlines. The flying saucer was gone, case closed, or so it seemed. For decades, that explanation remained the official story. Most Americans accepted it and moved on, but not everyone. Mac Brazel reportedly told journalists that the debris he originally found looked different from what was displayed at the press conference. Years later, Jesse Marcel also claimed the material shown to reporters was not what he had recovered from the ranch. If those recollections were accurate, an obvious question remained: what happened to the original debris? As the years passed, that single question refused to disappear. Then, in the late 1970s, The Roswell incident returned to the public eye. Researchers began interviewing former military personnel, local residents, and anyone connected to the events of July 1947. Some repeated familiar details, others made extraordinary claims. Stories began circulating that the military had recovered not only unusual debris. Some witnesses later described thin metallic material that seemed impossibly light, foil-like fragments that returned to their original shape after being bent, and small beams covered with strange symbols. None of these accounts have ever been independently verified, but they quickly became central to the Roswell legend. Some residents also claimed the military sealed roads around the crash site and restricted access to the area. Then came the most extraordinary claims of all: bodies. Glenn Dennis, a local mortician, later claimed the military asked him about obtaining small, airtight child-sized caskets, and that a military nurse described unusual bodies before disappearing from his life. His account remains heavily debated, but it became one of the most famous witness stories connected to Roswell. Small, humanoid, unlike anything witnesses claimed to have seen before. Some alleged the bodies were transported to military facilities for examination. Others claimed they personally witnessed the recovery. No physical evidence has ever publicly confirmed these accounts, and many historians question their reliability because most surfaced decades after the event. Even so, the stories transformed Roswell from a forgotten newspaper headline into one of the world's most famous UFO mysteries. Have an idea for our next video? Share it in the comments below, and your story could be featured in an upcoming episode. Now let's get back to the video. As public interest grew, pressure mounted for the United States government to explain exactly what had happened. In 1994, the U.S. Air Force released a lengthy report addressing the incident. According to the report, the recovered debris came from the classified Project Mogul. 3 years later, officials attributed many alien body stories to memories of later crash test dummy programs. Critics pointed out the Roswell incident occurred in 1947, while most dummy tests happened years later. Supporters argue memories blend together over decades. Skeptics believe too many questions remain unanswered. Decades later, Walter Haut, the public information officer who issued the original Flying Disc press release, signed an affidavit stating he believed the public had never been told the full story. Supporters consider it compelling, while skeptics question its reliability. But perhaps that's exactly why the Roswell incident has survived for nearly 80 years. Every official explanation has answered some questions, while leaving others behind. What happened during the crucial hours between the Army's original press release and the weather balloon announcement has never been fully documented. By the time reporters saw the recovered debris, whatever Major Jesse Marcel had originally collected from the ranch was no longer on display. Nearly 80 years later, the Roswell incident remains one of history's most debated mysteries. Was it classified military technology? Or was the truth hidden behind military secrecy? Or did something fall from the sky that has never been fully explained? No matter where the truth lies, it all began with a single field of scattered debris outside Roswell, New Mexico. So, what do you think really crashed outside Roswell? Let me know your theory in the comments, and I'll see you in the next case file.